Because I'm ready to start. Come on, Mayor. Just pound it. Let's go. Good evening and welcome to our City Council chambers. We have two separate meetings tonight, a regular meeting of which will also be giving out service recognitions. There will be other recognitions, proclamations that will have a short agenda. Then we have a study session that follows that, of which we will be looking at items that we will be voting on Thursday. So I'd like to call our regular meeting of the Chandler City Council together. I call this meeting to order. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mayor Hartke,
Here.
Vice Mayor Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Encinas,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Here.
Councilmember Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember Orlando,
Here.
Councilmember Poston.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Our invocation tonight will be presented by Peggy Schlesinger of the Chandler Community of Baha'i Faith, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Poston.
Tonight, I actually would like to remember our brothers and sisters in North Carolina and in Florida and everyone who's been affected by the hurricanes and floods and probably tornadoes as well. So with this, I dedicate this prayer to them. Lord, pitiful are we, grant us thy favor. Poor, bestow upon us a share from the ocean of thy wealth. Needy, do thou satisfy us. Abasted, Give us thy glory. The fowls of the air and the beasts of the field receive their meat each day from thee, and all beings partake of thy care and loving kindness. Deprive not this feeble one of thy wondrous grace, and vouchsafe thy might unto this helpless soul, thy bounty. Give us our daily bread, and grant thine increase in the necessities of life, that we may be dependent on none other but thee, may commune wholly with thee, may walk in thy ways, and declare thy mysteries. Thou art the mighty, and the loving, and the provider of all mankind. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Schlesinger. Thank you, Councilmember Poston. Next on our agenda tonight is scheduled public appearances, and I'm going to invite Councilmember Ellis to join me up front. But before so, I'd like to recognize any of the Mayor's Youth Commission who are attending. Please stand. All right, can you give us your name and what school you attend?
My name is Anthony, and I attend Basha High School.
Woo.
My name is Joe, and I also attend Basha High School.
All right, well, thank you all for being here. We'll tell the other commission members they missed a really good meeting tonight. So, all right, Councilmember, let's go up front. All right, next on our agenda is service recognitions. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We do have 4 service recognitions this evening. And for the first, I'd like to call up our Public Works and Utilities Director, John Knutson.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'd like to invite Jose Ortiz up for his 10-year recognition. Jose began his career with the City of Chandler in 2014 as a member of our Streets Right-of-Way team, and later with the Alley Maintenance team, keeping all of our city roads and alleys looking great. After 5 years of learning all the ropes with this group, he took on a newly created position called our First Responder. This is a unique position that Jose has made all his own. Part of his daily duty is to drive the city, keeping an eye open for anything unusual or in need of attention. He routinely is in contact with police, neighborhood services, utilities, and of course, his public works team when something comes up. He is often the first on the scene for downed trees, lifted sidewalks, pothole repair, and to assist a resident. He has even rescued a few cell phones that residents have dropped in storm drains. So always very helpful. Jose always demonstrates a professional demeanor, is respectful and courteous to all customers, and embodies excellent customer service. We are grateful to have him as a member of our team and appreciate all that he does for the City of Chandler. Thanks, Jose, for the great work.
Mayor and council, for our next recognition, I'd like to invite up Kevin Snyder, our Development Services Director.
Mayor and council, at this time, I'd like to invite James Comey up for a recognition of 25 years of service to the city of Chandler and its citizens. James? So James started with the city of Chandler on October 25th, 1999, as a utility operator 1 in the water distribution department. In this role, he was part of the repair team, installing fire hydrants, water meters, valves, and main breaks. In 2001, he was promoted to utility operator 2. James was then promoted to GIS technician 1 in 2004, where he was instrumental in incorporating GPS features into all the city's wet utility networks, major accomplishment. In 2016, he was promoted to a GIS Technician 2, which took him out of the field into air conditioning and into the office where he primarily processed as-built drawings. In 2023, James was promoted to Senior GIS Specialist. He has completed his Arizona Department of Environmental Quality Grade 4 certifications in water distribution, water treatment, wastewater collections, and wastewater treatment. He was nominated Chandler Public Works Value Employee of the Quarter in October 2001, October 2003, and October 2006. We had the honor of inviting and having James into our department, although he was a member of Public Works previously. James is a Chandler community volunteer and a member of several veterans organizations, including the Salvation Army and American Legion Post 35. Again, congratulations, James, for 25 years of service.
Mayor and council, for our next service recognition, I'd like to invite up Mike Hollingsworth, our facilities and fleet manager.
Mayor and council, I'd like to invite Renee Moreno to come forward to be recognized for 25 years of service. Tonight, she's joined by her daughters, both Ariana and Daisy, as we celebrate your remarkable 25 golden years of dedicated service with the city of Chandler. We want to take a moment to express our heartfelt appreciation for your unwavering commitment and exceptional contributions. Since you began your journey with us at the age of 25, as a customer service representative for solid waste and recycling on October 25th, there's a theme here, 1999, your career has been marked by excellence and profound impact on our community. Your transition through various roles from administrative specialist for parks and aquatics to fleet specialist showcases your versatility and dedication. The accolades you have received, including the Excellence in Customer Service Award in 2001 and Employee of the Year in 2006, are a testament to your outstanding work ethic and passion for public service. Your commitment to going above and beyond, recognized by multiple Above and Beyond awards in 2015, 16, and 17, reflect your ultimate dedication to our mission. Thank you for your 25 years of exemplary service. We look forward to 25 more. Go watch.
Sorry. Oh, yes. We want to talk with you. Yeah. Your mom will. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor and council, we do have one final service recognition tonight. I'm actually going to turn this one back over to you, Mayor.
Wow, this is what you guys look like from. Not saying that. I'd like to invite Chief Magistrate Alicia Skupin to receive her 10-year award. Judge Skupin, I remember when you came to Chandler to serve as a magistrate under Chief Magistrate Michael Trainer 10 years ago. You were highly recommended. The process was good. And I do have in my hand your initial employment agreement dated September 19, 2014. I submit this as evidence A for your 10 years of excellent service to the city of Chandler. I'm not done. You were a good judge and a great hire for the city of Chandler. Your story then and now continues to be a testimony of inspiration and really the fulfillment of the American dream. And we're glad that you not just keep that to yourself, but you tell that story often and you inspire many, many in our community. I also have in my hand your application to serve as presiding magistrate. I submit this as evidence of a life committed to service. And since the time you were asked to serve both as acting chief magistrate and then the presiding magistrate, you have looked out for the interest of our other judges and our community. You have been committed to work with Team Chandler at every opportunity. And I have noticed, and it does not escape me, that it is an unusual week to not see you sitting over there at council meetings or our study sessions. Judge Skupin, you continue to be an innovator. You promote access to justice in our community. You build trust and transparency. You bring compassion and adherence to the rule of law together so that people, if they don't even like the decision, they know that they've been heard. You align our courts with community partners and take advantage of opportunities to speak, at, whether it's at elementary schools, high schools, or beyond, and other nonprofits. You operate our court system efficiently, and you provide excellent services. We want to thank you for the past 10 years of being part of Team Chandler, and thank you for a steadfast commitment to continue to serve our community for another.
Oh, she said however long we want.
All right. May I approach the days? You guys want to stand behind Judge?
Yeah,
go ahead. Just stand behind. Can you see that? Can you see everybody? Where you at? There we go. We need to scoot over.
You just take over. It's okay. I'm all right with that.
All right, you two.
All right. Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
And City Manager, I believe that's all of our service recognitions. All right.
Correct, Mayor.
Our next recognition is the 2024 Achievement of Excellence in Procurement. So I'd like to call up Matt Dunbar and our procurement team. I am excited to highlight Team Chandler for another well-deserved national recognition. Our purchasing division has once again received the Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Awards, highlighting the hard work of our team to ensure that we're being responsible stewards of our city's resources.
Yeah, Mayor, I speak on behalf of Dawn Lang, who couldn't be here this evening. As much as she wanted to be here for the budget kickoff meeting, she wanted to be here for this more, as she truly appreciates the work that this team puts in. Tonight, I have the honor of recognizing the city's procurement team for receiving the Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award for 2024 from the National Procurement Institute, or NPI. Here to receive the award tonight is our Procurement and Supply Senior Manager, Christina Pryor, Serrana Davidson, Procurement Officer, and Rosenda Contreras, Procurement Senior Specialist. The other 14 members who contributed to the award application could not be here tonight, although they are a big part of this effort as well. This distinguished award recognizes organizational excellence by measuring an agency's commitment to continuous improvement in areas such as innovation, professionalism, and continuous improvement in productivity and leadership. The city has received this award for 20 consecutive years and is one of only 12 agencies in Arizona and one of only 72 cities in the United States and Canada to receive this award. Right. Chandler's purchasing division belongs to an elite group of purchasing organizations in government that operate with the highest standards for quality and efficiency, receiving the best value with our city tax dollars for our goods and services. Many thanks and appreciation to our outstanding purchasing team for their commitment and dedication to their profession, the city, and the community.
All right. All right. Our next proclamation is the National Friends of the Library Week. If we could have Bob Lowry, Tara Englund, and Sue Van Horn join us up front. Whereas Chandler Public Libraries serve as cornerstones of our community, providing resource and space to engage in lifelong learning, community enrichment, and connection. And whereas many of these resources are made possible because of support from the Friends of the Library or the Chandler Public Library, a nonprofit, volunteer-based organization of dedicated advocates who collectively support the mission, innovation, and inclusivity of our libraries. And whereas through their unwavering commitment, the Friends of the Chandler Public Library support many library programs, events, and resources, help expand collections, and foster a love of reading and lifelong learning amongst citizens of all ages. And whereas the contributions and volunteerism from the Friends of the Chandler Public Library have helped make our library community more vibrant, accessible, and enriching spaces for learning, discovery, and community connection. And whereas National Friends of Libraries Week celebrates the vital role that volunteers, advocates, and donors play in our community and recognizes the significant impacts of the Friends of Chandler Public Library. Now, therefore, I, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of the City of Chandler, Arizona, do hereby proclaim October 20 through 26, 2024 as National Friends of the Libraries Week and encourage all residents to visit our libraries and share appreciation with the Friends of the Chandler Public Library for their generous legacy of service to our community.
Give me a microphone, I'm going to say something. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. This past year, the Friends organization has been able to donate over $100,000 for library events and programs, plus $135,000 was given to the city to help with the purchase of a mobile library. Those of us of a certain age call it a bookmobile. This new outreach vehicle, the new name, will act as the city's 5th branch library, bringing services directly to the people where they are. And yes, it will have books, but much more. Technology resources, space for instruction, and staff on board to assist users. This 38-foot-long mobile library will become a familiar sight to everybody in the city beginning next spring. Again, thanks to the generosity of library users and the community, the Friends of Chandler Public Library is now in its 42nd year, proud to help the city of Chandler provide world-class assets for us all. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Ellis, you get the next one. Proclamation, Chandler's celebration of Arbor Day. If John Sefton and Corey Povar can join us.
Thank you. Well, I didn't forget my glasses this time. To all yours. Coming in, gentlemen, right in the middle. Thank you. All right. Whereas Chandler's urban forest plays a crucial role in our city's identity, mirroring the diversity of Chandler's culture and residents, and adding beauty, environmental benefits, and shade to our parks and neighborhoods. And whereas trees have an immensely positive impact on Chandler's air quality, heating and cooling costs, and wildlife, as well as providing an appealing landscape to parks, neighborhoods, and business centers. And whereas Chandler Park stewards encourage and inspire residents to plant, nurture, and celebrate trees and sustainable environmental efforts throughout the year. By investing in our trees and parks, we help create long-term community vitality. And whereas through education, volunteer opportunities, and workshops, we continue to encourage the community to take an active role in environmental preservation. And whereas fall is the ideal time to plant trees in Chandler and the appropriate time to celebrate Arbor Day, emphasizing the importance of benefits of trees within our community and how they impact our everyday life. Now, therefore, Kevin Harkey, Mayor of the City of Chandler, Arizona, do hereby proclaim November 2nd, 2024 as Chandler's celebration of Arbor Day and invite residents to our celebration at Desert Breeze Park for an educational interactive experience. In witness thereof, I have hereby stood up.
Certainly, Corey would love to speak. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we thought it would be a perfect time to also mention that we had just received notification that from the International Society of Arboriculture that we received the Golden Leaf Award for our outstanding Arbor Day activities from 2023, and it has been highlighted on the front of our Break Time magazine. So we really look forward to seeing everyone out at our Arbor Day event on November 2nd at Desert Breeze Park. Thank you. From
Yes.
9 to noon. You won't miss it if you're there from 9 to noon. Thank you.
All right, let's take a photo.
Everybody can get their bumper sticker too. I got my bumper sticker, baby. Did you get the tree up? I did. I love trees. Right over there. This is actually a pretty good bumper sticker.
All right. Our next proclamation is National Community Planning Month. If we could call up the Planning Division. Hello, everybody. All right. Keep moving that way, council member. All right. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, and planners can help navigate this change with data-driven insights and expertise that provide better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community, including the current downtown region area plan update and the upcoming general plan. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public elected and appointed officials who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States and its territories. Whereas the National Community Planning Month is an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential in every community and how planners are uniquely positioned to identify solutions to communities' most difficult housing, transportation, and land use questions. One more. And whereas this celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other community planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of Chandler. Now, therefore, I, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of the City of Chandler, do hereby proclaim October 2024 National Community Planning Month. In Chandler, we celebrate and recognize the innovative work and continued commitment to public service by the professionals of our planning division. Woo.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the proclamation. More importantly, thank you for your ongoing support of our planners and in our planning profession. Many people think that the career of a planner sounds very boring. And so I've got a trivia question for you that might prove it otherwise. So, which of the following questions have planners been asked by customers? A, can I run a colon cleansing business from my home? B, can my child have a therapy chicken? C, what are the rules to sell shrimp from the back of my pickup truck? Or D, is my property zoned for a body donation business? If you answered all of the above, you are correct. And that just scratches the surface of what these folks get to hear on a daily basis. So it is by far not a boring career. Quite exciting. So our world as planners, it revolves around the general plan, as Mayor indicated in the proclamation. We are kicking off our general plan update. In fact, this Thursday on Council's agenda will be our contract for our consultant to help us through that 2-year process that will end in 2026. So as a shameless plug, I encourage everybody to get engaged in their community's general plan update. There will be an incredible amount of different opportunities to provide that input, whether digital or in person. So please keep an eye on our website and please come out and participate in your city's general plan update. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Kevin, pull out your sheet again and tell us the answers to those questions.
A would be yes. B would be yes. So can you, you want the actual answers to the question? So can I run a colon cleansing business from my home? Answer would be no. Can my child have a therapy chicken? That actually answers yes. What are the rules to sell shrimp from the back of my pickup truck? Thankfully, that's not zoning. That is a state issue. And is my property zoned for a body donation business? The answer is no.
Well done. All right, let's take a photo. I was hoping the answer was going to be no in that last one. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. That concludes our public appearances. Council, do any of you have therapy chickens? I wasn't asking if you needed therapy. All right. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Council, how would you like to proceed?
Mayor,
Councilmember.
move to approve consent agenda of October 14th, 2024, regular meeting items 1 and 2.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Council, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Very good. Thank you, Council. That concludes our regular meeting. Welcome to the October 14th, 2024 study session. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Hartke.
Here.
Vice Mayor Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Encinas.
Here.
For Ellis.
Here.
Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
Councilmember Orlando.
Here.
Councilmember Poston.
Here?
We have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you. Council, we've got a few more than normal of consent agenda items that have been called in for presentation. The first is item number 8, our downtown wayfinding signage, called in for a briefing by Councilmember Orlando, and Kim Moyer is going to give the briefing.
Mayor, Council, the item that you have before you today implements the first phase of the downtown pedestrian and wayfinding study. In July of 2021, City Council approved an agreement with J2 Engineering and Environmental Design to complete a downtown pedestrian and wayfinding study. The study included a 4-step approach, identifying and confirming the goals and the needs of the project, studying the existing conditions of the downtown, developing draft recommendations, and presenting the city and the stakeholders with those results, and finalizing the recommendations and preparing the report. Input was gathered through an internal stakeholder group, including the Downtown Chandler Community Partnership, surveys to downtown businesses, and to residents. The study was completed in September of 22 with the following recommendations. The recommendation for signage and wayfinding improvements included garage vehicular signs, downtown directional signage, pedestrian identifiers, pedestrian identifying signs, and bicycle signs, as well as some pedestrian improvement recommendations of pedestrian crossings, placemaking, and pedestrian comfort. Phase 1 focuses on directing vehicles around the downtown to our 5 parking garages. The signs will create a consistent parking signage throughout the downtown and will include a total of 41 signs, including garage indicator and vehicular signage, named garage signage on the city-owned parking garages, interior garage signage directing vehicles to other garages if the garage is full, crosswalk signage between the City Hall and the City Hall parking garage, and the beginning of the pedestrian directional signage. These are a few examples of some of the signage that we will start to see in the downtown, creating that consistent look and helping people know how to identify directionally where the garages are. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilmember Orlando, you called this.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, the only thing, this is good stuff. I know we're trying to get folks to disperse on the parking, which is great. The only question I had for you is we have signage down there now. Is there be too many signs? I keep thinking of that 60 song signs everywhere. Never mind. I mean, do we have too much, or the 70s? Maybe it's anyway.
Through
Do
the
we have too
mayor,
many signs down there? Are we gonna be moving some signs or what?
absolutely, through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando. Part of the reason that we did this study is, quite frankly, we have signage everywhere.
Right,
But with a growing downtown, and there's so much to see and do, and there's so much signage, I think it sometimes gets lost.
right.
So part of the recommendations from the pedestrian and wayfinding plan was to take down all of the varied parking signage and have a clear, consistent theme throughout the downtown. So out of these first initial 41 signs, you'll see the exact same look and feel. And as we start implementing phases 2 and 3 and 4, they will all be the exact same. We were so insistent that if you happen to look at this one, we will actually have signage coming down Arizona Avenue from the south to the north that says, look for the P, and it says 5 free garages, because that continues to be something that we hear all the time. So we're making it very loud and clear throughout the downtown. This is what to look for, and here's where the garages are. And as the mayor always says, there's plenty of free parking in downtown Chandler.
Thank you. Yes, and that's, what about phase 2 and 3? What's time framing on that?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, phase 2 will focus on the pedestrian. This will be the path mostly from Chandler Boulevard all the way down to Fry, so that when we come out of the parking garages, you know exactly where to go to. And council actually did approve funding for that for this year. So after the implementation for phase 1, we will immediately go into phase 2, and we'll have that completed in 2025.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're
Appreciate it, Mayor.
Councilmember Poston.
I can thank you. How is the capacity? I know you like to say we always have plenty of free parking, but how is that capacity? I know some garages fill up a little quicker than others. Absolutely. Through the mayor, Councilmember Poston, we almost have the same issue today that we had before the 2 parking garages on the west side, where everybody wants to park on the west side. They're very well aware of the parking on the west side, but there's 3 parking garages that are on the east side of Arizona Avenue. So we continue to try to educate and encourage people to go to the east side. Part of the phased signage on phase 1 is the garage full? Look at where the other 3 parking garages are, and to try to get them to cross the street. So we're hoping through this first phase that we're really going to start educating people that it's no more extra steps to park on the east side than it is on the west side. Thank you. You're welcome.
Council, any additional questions, comments? I just have a comment for you and our downtown crew. Congratulations. Downtown Chandler was named the state's best foodie destination today. So congratulations. Keep those signs coming.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Next item called in was by me, looking at the district downtown. I'd like to call up Lauren Schumann for a presentation. I see Brennan's in the back in case we have additional questions. So.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. All right, item 10, the district downtown. To give you a brief overview of the property, I'm going to go over a little bit of background before we get into the request. The subject site, it's located at the northwest corner of Arizona Avenue in the Santan 202 freeway. It's approximately 44.7 acres large. A little bit of background about the property. It was originally rezoned in 1987 from AG1 to PAD, Planned Area Development, for office, retail, hotel, multifamily, as well as a convention center, and it was part of a larger master plan, including the multifamily to the west. In 1989, the zoning was extended since nothing was built, and the property was vested in 2000 when the multifamily along the west side of the property was constructed. Fast forward to 2007, the property received a zoning amendment. They rezoned the property to PAD to allow for office, retail, and hotel. A mid-rise overlay was approved over the entire site, allowing for buildings up to 120 feet over the entire site. Buildings not outlined in a color were proposed under phase 1. Phase 2 would be the buildings outlined in yellow, with phase 3 being red. Phase 3 did require a separate PDP for the future hotel. In 2012, they came back to revise the preliminary development plan for site layout and building architecture. They wanted to move a parking garage to be more centralized within the property, and they shifted a hotel to the east, and it was approved for 7 stories. Under this case, there were phasing stipulations. The phasing plan included, under the first phase, 12,000 square feet would be built. Under the second phase, no more than 4 pads would be constructed prior to an office building. In the last one, no more than 6 pads would be constructed prior to the second office building or hotel being constructed. As of today, the property is currently zoned. The case received entitlement 2 years ago in November of 2022. It's the site plan before you. It was rezoned planned area development for mixed use for office, commercial, and it added a multifamily component. Here's the site plan. There were setbacks were reduced within this case to allow for 30 feet along Pecos and Arizona Avenue. Within this case, there were stipulations added regarding the phasing plan. In order for the first phase of Parcel 5 multifamily to develop outlined in black, a portion of the office buildings outlined in black would need to be completed and receive the commercial development must occur before any multifamily, and a certificate of completion for the same or for the commercial must occur before or at the same time for that multifamily. In order to unlock the second phase of multifamily, all commercial development along Arizona Avenue had to be completed and received a certificate of completion before a permit could be pulled for the multifamily. So before you today, we come before you with a request. The applicant is requesting, there's a whole lot of words within that rezoning, but in reality, it's to rezone the property to planned area development for mixed use development, including multifamily, office, commercial uses, which are permitted under community commercial C2 type uses, as well as add on the site plan I've indicated, add automotive and truck sales, which isn't permitted by right under C2. It's permitted by right under C3. So the addition of that additional use has been added. The applicant also requests that conditions regarding phasing and on the previous case be eliminated. The preliminary development plan has also been amended to show that the first phase of multifamily is no longer a garage wrap development, but surface parked. Here's a comparison. On the left side is the 2002 approved plan, and the request is on the right. They're still requesting the same amount of units, but as I stated, the current plan shows the first phase of multifamily to be surface parked. They've decreased the amount of office building from 4 buildings to 2 buildings. They've reduced the amount of retail at the corner, but they are now proposing the possibility of 2 automotive vehicle sales and truck sales, and they've increased it to allow for 2 hotels under the current submittal. A stipulation has been added to the case to stip that only franchise dealerships would be permitted within the property indicated. For the phasing plan, the applicant has provided landscaping along the street, and internal drive would be pulled at the time of a first permit for development. Phase 2 indicated on this plan would really be phase 1 because the offsite improvements would be required with whatever development came first. The applicant was requesting that future phases be built upon market demand. At Planning and Zoning Commission, this item was pulled for an action item from the chair with concerns regarding the phasing and the types of uses that would occur at the downtown gateway. In order to address the phasing concerns, the applicant did modify one of the STIPs. There's a STIP that says the second phase of multifamily does require a separate preliminary development plan to come back to Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council and to City Council. And the stipulation's been modified to say that a separate PDP shall be required, and it cannot be pulled until one hotel and 75% of the commercial buildings in phase 2 have received a certificate of completion. As I said, this went before Planning and Zoning Commission. It was recommended for approval 5-1 with the chair recommending denial. Staff has stipulations in place regarding the types of uses and where they could occur. There's stipulations regarding the high quality of design. It's consistent with the general plan. And with that, I open it up to any questions.
Thank you. I've got a few. So to start, from shifting from C2 to C3, what else could possibly show up on this site? And is that C3 area just that bottom far right quadrant, or does that extend to the entire? So possibilities of C3, and is that for a site specific within that overall or general to the entire?
Mayor, great question. The site would only allow for C2 type uses and the addition of automotive and truck sales.
Okay, so not generic C3s. Okay. Obviously, I've been looking at this site since I was first appointed back in the 2008 with different models, and we've seen quite a few from a lot more office or retail, at one point a convention center, to what we have now, which is substantial more multi-housing. I guess one of my big questions is what is to guarantee that anything other than phase 1 gets built on this? The pictures have changed, but that concept without handcuffing this to the other things being built, what guarantees are there?
Mayor, that's a great question, and I would have to direct it to the applicant who's requesting to remove the stipulations of phasing.
Okay, so by removing that stipulation, it allows for phase 1 to be built and then puts handcuffs on that center apartment complex. But in terms of everything else, whether these pictures change or anything else, there is no specific statement other than the pictures that we see that these will happen. Am I right or wrong on that?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. I'm going to call Brendan up, but first let me see if any council members has any questions with Lauren before we further conversation. No? Okay. Thank you, Lauren.
Of course.
Good evening, Mr. Ray. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Brendan Ray, 1850 North Central, here on behalf of the applicant. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to answer some of the questions. This has certainly been a process that we've been in for a while, and I think it's appropriate that the planning department receive their recognition tonight, because we don't get to this point without working hand in glove with them to ensure it, including a 2-hour sit-down meeting with Mr. Mayo to go over the site plan and changes to it. But with respect to the question, I think as we look at this, it's not a removal of the restrictions, it's an exchange. Because we are trying to look at balancing what the council desires with the market, government regulation versus allowing the free market to do what it needs to do. And I think what we've done, we've tried over the course of the past 2 years to address the initial concerns and haven't had much success given the stipulations that existed from the prior approval. And so really what we're here to talk about is a system of checks and balances I cannot stand up here and give a guarantee, and I will not. This council has had other people stand up and give guarantees as to things, and those have not worked out. And I am not going to be one that is going to go down that path. But what we can do is give a number of reasonable assurances based on the tools that is at your disposal, that is at our disposal, to ensure, again, that there is a system of checks and balances in place. Because as we've gone throughout this process, and as you alluded to, Mayor, the question that's come up is, how do we know something's going to get built? Well, if I knew that with certainty, I wouldn't be before you. I'd be on a beach, probably drinking a Coke, maybe with some ice in it, and relaxing there. I would not be before you. But nevertheless, as we look at it, and talk about really multifamily, because that was one comment I've heard as we've gone through this. How do we have a guarantee that no more multifamily isn't going to just spread across the entire site? And so you can see there's a number of things, including stipulation number 1 and rezoning in the preliminary development plan. We've got within the development booklet a site plan that identifies where the land uses can be. We've got an additional stipulation that specifically says residential is only permitted on 2 parcels within it. And then, as Lauren indicated, we do have an additional stipulation in the preliminary development plan that requires a separate application, city council approval for multifamily on phase 4, on parcel 4. So as we look at this, any changes to the location of multifamily, again, numerous checks and balances in there require me to come back before you for your approval. There's a question that's come relative to auto dealerships. What's the certainty that we have for auto dealerships? And if I need to, I'm going to guess Economic Development Director Micah Miranda is here. We were on about a 30 or so minute call, I believe, Micah, with someone who's representing and working with the developer on the dealerships. And I can go into more detail on that, but you can see clearly, as staff indicated, there's a stipulation that is pursuant to state statute that indicates that it's got to be a new dealership. And again, that entire process, dealerships are heavily regulated by state statute on the process of locating and relocating dealers and stuff like that. So again, any changes to that, I've got to come back to you. When we talk about development phasing and stuff like that, you can see on there that, again, there's a number of stipulations, the development booklet, phasing plan, language in the development booklet, again, a stipulation, and then including a revised stipulation that was worked out with the chair of the planning commission that required that we build a certain amount of the development before I can even file an application on the multifamily. You all know, you've had many people come to you, many cases that have not been before you that have talked about multifamily development. And so there is certainly a huge incentive for multifamily development to go forward. But again, we've placed a series of checks and balances so that this council, that the public also knows that I just can't go build the multifamily and walk away because of the incentive than the checks that we've gotten in here. Additionally, we would like to propose a new stipulation tonight on the preliminary development plan. And what that does is that I've got to pull a building permit on non-residential uses within 18 months of the effective date of this rezoning ordinance. Because the challenge that we faced is that there was a number of handcuffs that were tied to the multifamily development to where lenders would not lend on it. No one wanted to make that substantial of investment into property that was so heavily encumbered as it was before. Yet this, I believe, again, doesn't remove the restriction. I guess technically you could say it does, but we've tried to be fair and equitable and give you reasonable assurances as best we can that we know the market can support it. And that's why as we look at this, that's that area outlined in black, which would be applicable to it. So again, as we kind of look at it, we think that we've done a good job of exchanging, if you will, the requirements with a series of checks and balances that are give, I believe, you all the assurance as to how things can be without putting a stranglehold so that nothing gets built on it.
So I'll start. I respectfully, what you are asking us is to remove the handcuffs off the first, not just move them elsewhere. So for order to get those apartments built, there was conditions, that other thing. And so my understanding is you are asking to remove those. It's clever language, but it is asking to shift those elsewhere. I still don't know from my regard, and you and I have talked about this multiple times, that even everything except for what you've talked about today, and I did bring that up to staff, that request. Would you be willing to, what I don't do, if you could go back to the last slide, please, or two, yeah. What I would not want to see, again, is a bunch of nice looking photos there, and then the very top right corner have a little coffee shop, and that would satisfy this. Because I would need, for me to get on board with this, some substantial, in earnest, good work towards that. So I will throw out, would you agree to 25,000 square feet of development as part of that? And you don't need to answer me now, but I would expect an answer before Thursday, rather than a 3-foot pad or a 3,000 square foot pad and saying, I've met the requirements for this 18 months. Would you agree to a minimal amount of development? And if that's going to be the car dealerships, a hotel, some of these others, but the way this is currently in language, I think you could have a little coffee shop or something in the corner and say, we've met the requirements. And I don't think that that would meet the intention of that you are expressing or that we would expect.
Yes, I will discuss that with my client, Mayor.
Okay, I would need to know that on Thursday, or I will be requesting a continuance of this case. If so, I'm willing to hear that, and I understand. But to me, I just don't think, as I mentioned, something small with this language would achieve the purposes that you are expressing.
Mayor, I would agree. In isolation, one could certainly take that approach. I've appeared before this group many times, and that's certainly not my intention to play games with you or the public as it relates to this. But I think when we look at it in connection with everything else that we've got in place that already exists, again, probably the biggest one deals with that, with a revised stipulation that does have a requirement that I can't even file an application on multifamily until I've completed 75% of the commercial frontage and one of the hotels. So while we understand, and as I said, I will visit with my client about it, we feel that if you look at it in totality, again, all the series of checks and balances that we've got, we think there is certainly enough there. But we understand and your comment, and as I said, I will visit with my client.
Would you also agree, or at least discuss with your client within that shot clock, if this is not met, that there could be some sort of financial incentive to further that, whether that's a daily fee or something. So if it doesn't reach within that certain time, please have that conversation as well. Because again, I see everything that you're saying here, but to me, I see zero incentive past the development of this first apartment complex that your client could easily sell the rest of this property, and then he's done with it or something else, and there's still no guarantees that anything else could happen. So I would love to see this plan filled out, but I would love to see some more assurances to that whole process. So please ask your client. I'll look forward to hearing that on Thursday as well.
Mayor, I will also have conversations with the city attorney. I don't know that we're interested in rewriting the city's criminal code or civil code as it relates to violations of zoning ordinances being class 1 misdemeanors, but I will certainly get with the city attorney and try to figure out what's appropriate, again, without rewriting the civil code. Mayor.
Yeah, and I think some of those can be tied to the property, so I don't see that as a demand beyond that, but I certainly would welcome that conversation as well. So, Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. So you brought up a point about 25,000 square foot of development. I'm sorry, what was the exact word you used? I'm just clarifying.
I'm looking for a number that before anything would happen within that time frame, that there would be a substantial development that would be pulled and initiated, not just a pad of 1 or 3,000.
No, and I'm saying, so if they got the hotel built, would that satisfy the requirement? I'm trying to just figure out what we're trying to do. That's all I'm asking.
If
challenging, I think it's a good approach. I'm just trying to figure out what that definition of 25,000 square foot, because I agree with you. I don't want to see a coffee shop and say, we're done.
And that's why I would
be looking for a major structure in there. That's what we're trying to say.
I would look for a major structure there.
Okay.
Whether it's a dealership, whether it's something that is more than a couple shops.
Got it.
But I don't know necessarily the square footage of the hotels being proposed, so.
Okay, you want to see something substantial in there other than one pad being developed, is what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thanks for clarification.
Council, any other questions?
I had a question, Mayor, concerning the dealership. It's my understanding when Mike had the conversation with you, Sir Ray, that we were not sure that those dealerships really in play and they will ever manifest, or because it also took so long for those kinds of licenses and everything to be given. And the ones that you had mentioned to us, they've already either interested somewhere else or have already paid to move somewhere else. Was that the fact, or this is just something that it was my understanding? That's what I heard.
Sure, Mayor, Councilmember Ellis. I'll
Thank you.
certainly defer to Mr. Miranda and see if my recollection of our conversation is wrong. But as it relates to the three dealerships, if you will, that kind of started us down this path to begin with, I had a chance to speak with the representative, and he informed me that those potential three dealerships are still in play for this particular site. There was some discussion of a site landing, that one of those three had landed somewhere. But again, unless Mr. Miranda remembers differently, in the course of our conversation, that dealership landed somewhere out at Signal Butte in the US 24, which is approximately 21 miles away, which according to state statute and their 10-mile restriction, again, the rules, and I can get way into the weeds. I don't know that's the purpose of tonight's meeting, but the rules for a new dealership versus relocation are a little bit different. But I think on our conversation, and Mr. Miranda can correct me where I'm wrong, it was confirmed with the expert, if you will, who's done 1,200 car dealerships across this nation, said that those three dealerships could still locate on this site. He also did go on to explain it's kind of the chicken and the egg when we're talking about franchisees and the OEMs, as he referred to it, and stuff like that. So there is a process by which it goes. Again, we can, if necessary, go into details tonight, or we can continue to have discussions with Mr. Miranda to ensure that you all understand that process.
Any additional questions?
Mayor, real quick.
Councilmember.
Yeah, so right now the PDB calls for two, and I understand chicken for the egg. If you don't have it zoned, sometimes the other dealerships are shying away, but we're only looking at two tonight. Staff, if there's a third one, which we initially heard, is there enough room there to do this? And do we have to rezone a particular parcel again?
I might know the answer to the question, Mayor, Councilman.
Well, she'll make sure you get the right answer, so.
She'll make sure I get the right answer. But with respect to let's just use the plan. It's hopefully, let's just use this plan for argument's sake. In connection with this development, and Ms. Schuman can correct me where I'm wrong, this plan locks in where those land uses are. That's why I can't go spread multifamily willy-nilly on the site. And so with that being the case, the only place that auto dealerships can be located are in the location shown on here, those two purple buildings. Should another dealership want to land here, then we would need to go back through the process, amend the zoning, amend the PDP to be able to locate a third dealership on this site.
If a third dealership did exist, if it fit in parcel one, it could be reviewed administratively, but it has to meet all of our site development standards. So the setbacks that are established within this case, parking, and making sure that there's enough landscaping. And so if a third was able to fit in that parcel one, it could be considered administratively.
Okay, that's negotiable. I get that. All right, but my point is there's enough land here, there's enough, on this canvas, there's enough room that we could change this canvas.
Through the mayor, council member Orlando, yes, there is. It would require the deletion of some of the other stuff to make it fit.
I mean, quite frankly, a dealership is a lot more valuable than a couple of those retail shops. That's for darn sure.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions for Mr. Ray? All right. Thank you, sir. We'll see you Thursday.
Thank you.
Next item called in is item number 12 concerning the license agreement with Crown Castle Fiber Telecommunication System and Kevin Snyder.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Normally you'd have Dennis Oust before you, but he's off happily celebrating the wedding of his daughter. So you have me this evening. I will do my best as a
So-
stand-in.
So Mayor, Kevin, I did talk a little bit earlier today. The only question I have is, I'll save you some time, it's getting late. The question I have is, where are we going to do these cuts, the experimental cuts? Have you figured out the locations? And how are we going to monitor that as far as longevity? Will it be, because that's been an issue all along, is that the different cuts and the striping, and is it going to upset the asphalt and things like that? So I want to home in on that.
No, through the mayor, Councilman Orlando. So as it stands right now, the locations, or we're currently in discussions with Crown Castle on the locations. However, but they will be limited to certain areas of the city. They will not be permitted on arterial streets, only local and collector streets. We will be monitoring, since this is a pilot study, we'll be working hand in hand with Crown Castle. They will have to get appropriate permits, encroachment permits, and other permits needed in order to work in our right of way. We'll be monitoring the introduction and use of their technology, the micro trenching technology. They will not be allowed to bore under any sidewalks or break open any sidewalks. They'll only be allowed to bore under sidewalks. So it is intended to only be limited to about 10,000 lineal feet. And right now, based on conversations to date with Crown Castle, they would anticipate starting in Southeast Chandler, again, only on local or collector streets. And we will be working hand in hand with them to make sure that they are minimizing any interference within the public space. You're talking for the micro trenching, approximately 6 inches off the curb is where they will be doing their work, again, in local or collector streets. And we would be making sure that they be minimal impact to the functionality of the roadway and or to people utilizing the public space.
Okay, so it's a timeline here. Where concern has always been what it's going to do to the streets long term. And I get that. Do you have data that they've looked in other areas that over a year, this is what happens? Because I can see this happening. We put the 10,000 linear square feet in because, again, this is a new process. And 2 years from now, we find a problem. Help me solve that riddle.
That's a great question. So we are aware that they have worked with the town of Queen Creek and have reached an agreement with them, and will be implementing this what they call Rapid Connect program there. This pilot program study would be, again, for 3 years in the city. Any impacts, negative impacts to the right-of-way would have to be immediately addressed. That would be part of the agreement that we have with them. They have to meet city technical specifications and designs. Any damage to the roadway, they are responsible for. They proceed at risk. And also, there is no guarantee that they will be, number one, allowed to retain the technology in the right-of-way after the end of the pilot program or expand it elsewhere in the city. So we're going to keep a very tight control on this for the very points you're making, Councilmember, because this is new technology, at least to the city, not necessarily to Crown Castle, but to us, and we do not want to have any instances where it negatively impacts the public space and creates damage or other issues for users.
So they're indemnified if there is an issue, leakage, crack into the street, whatever the case may be.
Yes, and we'll be immediately upon that, we'll be working hand in hand with them. Dennis and his team are
Okay.
going to be working in close coordination.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Mayor.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. And, I remember we had on our one-on-one, we talked about this in detail about the technology being able to lay the fiber faster with less impact on the neighborhoods where we used to be able to, we would dig up roads and they'd be closed down for weeks, and this will be just a strip down the middle. And so this is really good that they're bringing this forward as an innovative technology that we can use here to push this forward. I guess what I was curious about is if I remember correctly, this is being used in Colorado where they have ups and downs and cold and heat and all those kind of things. You're seeing it already being used in like Elk Grove, California, and places like that. So it's proven technology. Is that right?
That is my understanding. We do have a representative of Crown Castle to give a more detailed explanation, but it's my understanding that they have utilized this technology in other locales with various weather conditions, Councilmember Stewart, So yes, I believe the question, answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, so this is gonna be less intrusive for the neighborhoods. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Ellis.
Yeah, well, you talk about it being a pilot program for how long?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis, if approved by City Council, it would be a 3-year pilot program.
Okay. And that whole three years, we'll be monitoring it and making sure that, uh, I understand that with the applicant, we had an issue in the past of them staying in contract with us. What makes me think that this is not going to be another issue?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis, to answer your question, there was a dispute over fees. We worked proactively with Crown Castle, and I can report that they have successfully paid all outstanding fees to the city, are in a good standing with the city. We will be working hand in hand with, this is a new technology, even though it's been proven in other communities, it's new to us. So Dennis and his team will be doing extra oversight on this, working in close coordination with Crown Castle to make sure that there is no negative impact. We don't know exactly what will be the impact of the roadways. We expect it to be minimal based on the micro trenching technology. But if there is more significant impact, then we will work to immediately address that with Crown Castle. That could include stopping the work. That could include other actions that may be necessary. I think the council can be assured that we will be keeping a very close eye on this.
Appreciate that, Kevin. Thank you so much. I've met with some of the people from Crown Castle a couple of years ago, and they seems to be very amicable and wants to work with us. I was very surprised when I heard that they were not, meeting their obligations towards us. But I'm glad to hear the report tonight that they have come and agreeably let's move forward and everything. So looking forward to continue working with them. Thank you.
Seeing no additional questions, thank you, Kevin. All right, Council, we're halfway through the called in ones. Item number 14, general plan update. If I could have Lauren Schumann return, and Councilmember Orlando and Poston called this in asking for a briefing.
All right. Thank you again. We're excited to come before you this evening. Item 14 on your agenda is an agreement with Logan Simpson Design for a general plan and comprehensive plan update. All right. To just give you the word general plan's been thrown around a couple of times this evening, but to give you a reminder of what our general plan is. Our general plan is a comprehensive set of broad policies that guides development within our city. It's a strategic plan and it's not parcel specific. The general plan is our ultimate, what we want our city to look like at ultimate build out. It takes input from all community members and has community goals within it. The general plan, the state statute requires that we update it every 10 years. So planning staff is initiating the update of the general plan. The last one was approved in 2016 and it was approved by the voters at 85.8%, which was very high. We received a reward for that, an award. Since then, no major or minor amendments have occurred. Per the state statute, there's 17 different elements that the state requires us to look at. The general plan is not just a planning document. Other departments use this document to put their policies and goals within it. We anticipate that there is going to be a lot of focus on housing, water resources, and per direction given by the mayor, conservation, rehabilitation, and redevelopment, as well as a circulation. It's important that we update our general plan every 10 years as it's required by the state statute, but we also want to look at developing trends to make sure that we're still on track for ultimate build out and how we want our city to develop. City of Chandler is approaching build out. We're at 93% built out. Of that 7% that's remaining, only 3% of it is envisioned for residential uses. So we just want to make sure that we're headed in the right track for build out. So today we come before you with the contract for a consultant. The proposal was sent out in July. We received 3 proposals, and on your agenda today is an agreement with Logan Simpson Design as our consultant. This is the kickoff really to the next 2 years of our general plan update. Next steps, once approved on Thursday's agenda, we do have a meeting with the consultant and and other departments within the city to start up to identify our goals, and as well as the next step would be to set up a residential advisory committee. They're appointed by the mayor and voted on by the city council. That should be on an agenda before the end of the year. That committee is comprised of interested stakeholders, business members, activists, and residents. In the 2016 general plan update, there were 23 committee members. The year before that, there were 21, so generally there's about 20, but there's no rules or regulations regarding how many. And this committee is used to help guide staff and the consultant through the update. Start next year is the real work, with the boots on the ground, the public output, getting weekly meetings for topics regarding our general plan and how we want the city to develop, because we want to include everybody. We will be engaging with the youth as well as residents of the city. We hope to partner with local businesses to host events. One of the reasons Logan Simpson was chosen is their robust public participation processes. And so we really look forward to working with them and seeing what innovative ways that they have to reach out to the public to get this message out so we can get as much feedback. And then as well as meet with regional stakeholders, check in with a majority of our hearing boards back to City Council, Park and Rec, Airport Commission. And then we hope by June of next year, we will have finalized the comprehensive housing plan in order to comply with Governor Hobbs' state bill that was recently signed in, State Bill 1162. So the comprehensive housing portion of the general plan update should be complete by June of next year. And then from there, it's just sending out the general plan draft for review to start the 60-day statutory review period, with hopes to get this to a January of 2026 Planning and Zoning Commission and on a City Council agenda by February of 2026 in order to reach the August 2026 election. As once council approves or denies it, it gets put on a ballot where residents vote on the general plan. So today is, this week would be a kickoff to this whole process of the next 2 years. And with that, I'm open for any questions or comments.
Let's start with Councilmember Poston.
Thank you, Mayor. My questions would be a little more specific to the housing plan. We've been asking a lot of our residents lately in terms of putting them on committees for the bond and now the general plan and the housing plan. Do you anticipate that the committee for the general plan would be the same as the housing, or is that going to be 2 separate committees running together in terms of who we're going to pull into the community just to get one done a little sooner than the other?
Of course, that's a great question. I'm going to look to Leah Powell.
Good evening, Council. Through the Mayor, Councilmember Poston, we will have a separate stakeholder group that will be looking at the comprehensive housing plan. One of the reasons for that is the idea is to have the comprehensive housing plan wrapped up prior to the final draft of the general plan, because we want that plan to roll up into the general plan for continuity. We've already been working at a kind of identifying those broad categories of stakeholders. So for example, we want to make sure we have nonprofit providers involved. for-profit and nonprofit affordable housing developers. We want to make sure we have the business community, the school districts. Because this is housing for all income levels and a diverse housing base, we want to make sure that we have a diverse stakeholders group as well.
Okay. And because I wanted to clarify and make sure, because affordable housing is such an important issue that we've been facing across the country, it's not only affordable housing that we're looking at, it's all housing and where it belongs in Chandler. Is that correct?
Yes, through the mayor, Councilmember Poston, that is correct. We will be looking at all different types of housing stock. In addition to what we may already have in Chandler today, we also want to look at innovative housing stock that may also meet a diverse audience.
How do you always answer my next question? So I was just going to say, I would like to just encourage this group and our city staff to get as creative as possible. I know you and I have had this discussion many, many times, whether it's materials, whether we need to be looking at the city code and what we're allowed to have, whether it's revitalizing. I'm seeing across other cities where they are taking, and I know we had a presentation from our economic development director that it's difficult, but other communities are finding ways to change businesses into housing where it's appropriate. So I just want to encourage that creativity and to be willing to explore all the options and give us a good idea of where that housing stock needs to go. Will we be looking at city property as well as a possibility in terms of putting housing on any of that, some of the real estate that we own?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Poston, that will be twofold. We will be coming back to council in the near future, looking at the at our own public housing stock and continuing with our plan to redevelop our public housing stock. As part of that conversation and future conversations, we may be looking at other city parcels along the way. So I think that will happen at a couple different times.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Councilmember Orlando next since he also called us, but let me ask a follow-up question, just a process question. So this housing group, will that report directly to you? Will they make presentations to the general plan committee? Will they, how does the process of these two concurrent committees work?
Mayor Harkey, that is the reason that we wanted to do this as a joint plan with the general plan, again, to make sure that there is consistency and continuity. We have been doing housing assessments every year. We've been updating it, but that data has not necessarily been rolling up into a larger plan for the city. So that was the reason for doing this in conjunction. Amy Jacobson and myself will be overseeing the comprehensive housing plan piece of it, but we'll be working very closely and in conjunction with development services on the general plan, as well as having staff within my department also be liaisons with the general plan. We want to make sure that there is that continuity, and we want to make sure that any report that's generated as far as that comprehensive housing plan is something that can roll up as a document. So being presented to the general plan committee, certainly getting staff's input on it, really vetting it through the entire process as well. It will just be happening a little bit off track simultaneously for the most part, but will be completed prior to the general plan being completed.
So at some point, then there will be a presentation to the general plan committee, and they will, in essence, for lack of better words, accept this to morph it into the general plan rather than these two continuing to work divergently, correct?
Yes, Mayor, that is correct.
Okay. Okay, very good. Councilmember Orlando.
No, I just wanted to know the desired outcomes of the housing plan. Obviously, we know the general plan, been doing that for a long time, but I think I got a good handle on what we're looking at for the desired outcomes, where we want to go with the housing piece of it. That's all I had. Thanks.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. So on the comprehensive housing plan, you're going to kind of organize the group that kind of puts that together. Will the Home Builders Association be on that? Will there be neighbors on that? Will there be folks that sort of expand outside of what maybe your department's generally worked on, which is I don't know if it's even workforce housing. It's more of our veterans and elderly and folks, HUD housing, that kind of stuff. Right?
Yes, through the mayor, Councilmember Stewart, yes to all of those groups that you identified. Exactly. Again, we want to make sure that this is not just focused on affordable housing, but it's focused on all different types of housing products throughout Chandler. And again, meeting a diverse base of future residents, current residents,
It'll be looking at what our assets are today, not just as a city, but as a city as a whole, what types of housing we have, where it is, and where those gaps are.
Sure. And then on the selection for that committee, will you be handling that, Mayor, and then we vote on that, or how will that selection be done?
So similar to the bond committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that I will be taking input from you all, assembling a board, and then council will approve the general plan. I'm looking to my right for, yeah. So similar to what we've just done with the bond project. And there might be some carryover of existing folks and I'll need to make sure that we're working closely together so that someone does not recommend someone who's also going to be serving. It seems like there was a fair amount of work on both of these to Councilmember Poston's question. To my right, any questions, comments? Okay, Councilmember.
Thank you. Actually, this was a follow-up to the mayor's question. Am I hearing it correctly that the comprehensive housing plan wouldn't come back to us? But it would just be folded into the general plan and then move forward in conjunction with that after June?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Poston, we will certainly be presenting information to council.
Okay.
It's just a matter of, there will be a report from the comprehensive housing plan. So it will have its own report, but that report will roll up into the general plan. So it's really kind of twice, I guess, that you could say. We will certainly have a report for that piece of it. We also want to make sure that we're meeting any state guidelines. As you know, there's legislation. For the most part, we've been doing that, but this formalizes what we've been doing. And so we will make sure that we are meeting any of those state deadlines and that piece of it. But in addition, it will roll into that general plan.
Okay, thank you.
And Councilmember, we could certainly do a study session, make sure that we're aware and any questions that we have before this becomes a sealed, stamped document that council can have input on.
Thanks, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Our next item was called in by council members Ellis and Stewart. Item 22, vehicle purchase and upfitting. Mike Collinsworth for a presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Truly.
Do you two just have questions or do you want a
Correct. I
presentation?
just had a couple of questions. I didn't want a full presentation. It was just brought to my attention that you are going to do a whole full one. I just wanted you, in a few words, to kind of concise it. Why do we have to make an $8 million something investment into vehicles right now? Because a lot of people are talking about this. Is it the right time to buy with the inflation? And not only that, the money, should we invest it into vehicle? I'll tell you, for me personally, a couple of weeks ago, I took one of the cars with the mayor down to, we went somewhere. That car was pitiful. I was like, oh my goodness, does this really belong to the city? There was not even any light in the roof when we opened the door. So kind of just concise it for me. I don't want to fool. Why do we need to make this investment right now?
So through the mayor, Councilmember Ellis, number one, it's not $8 million. It's like $4.1 million, and it's actually a reduction from last year. And it also includes upfitting. But we go through an exhaustive process to determine what vehicles need to be replaced. And to answer your question, now versus later, it's one of those things, pay me now or pay me later. The inflation, I don't know if anybody has a crystal ball that's going to tell us when inflation is going to be in another year. I personally just went through a vehicle purchase myself, and I went through the same debate with myself. Should I wait or should I do it now? I ended up doing it now, and have really no, but my situation may be different from other people and obviously the city. But we go through an exhaustive process to evaluate the vehicles to understand, is this the right time to replace based on mileage, cost of repairs, the actual condition of the vehicle through physical inspections, and also the feedback we get from the Fleet Advisory Committee. So there's a lot of different aspects that go into determining whether we need to buy vehicles now or later. And we started off with approximately 86 vehicles to replace, and now we're down to 51. So we've gone through a pretty exhaustive scrub of this list. If we scrubbed it any harder, it'd be bleeding. So, but I do understand your concern about the economy and where we're at right now with inflation and interest rates. We don't play that game in the city. And with car prices, they are a bit high, but they are coming down too. I would say, my crystal ball says we're probably unchanged from last year, or maybe even a little less by a single digit percentage. So I think the timing for some of these vehicles, we're at a point where the vehicles we've selected are kind of a must replace point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not, I don't have a concern because I looked through it and I know what you're trying to accomplish here. And I know what we have done in the past and we're going to continue to do. We are very fiscally responsible here in the city. But there are people who bought this, what I just said here
Sure.
up. So I wanted to make sure that we answer them in the square right here so that they understood why we need to do this right now. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Some of my questions were answered just now, but I'm interested in how much less versus last year have we reduced the expense? And then, I think it's notable, or it's noteworthy to mention that we've got a number of my neighbors, a number of our residents that run. I just turned in a truck that was 180,000 miles, right? That we run our cars to the very end. So I want some assurances when we make an expense like this that we're taking our fleet to the last possible moment and then turning that in when we need to replace that. And so this has been an ongoing, as Josh knows, this has been something I've really been a bug in my saddle, burr in my saddle for about 5 years.
Yeah.
When I see 4 million, 8 million, whatever that is, come across, and I see fresh new cars every year, I want to make sure that that's respecting our residents who don't get a new car every year.
Right. Through the mayor, Councilmember Stewart, again, I'll share a personal comment myself. I took my car recently to 202,000 miles and I still have it. So it's on its way out. But to answer your question regarding this year versus last year was 93 vehicles. And this year is 51. This year it's $4.1 million, and that's with upfitting. And that's the large difference between this year and last year. Last year, we presented those vehicles without upfitting, and it was around $4 million, but there was considerable upcharge with upfitting. Because of cost increases over the past couple of years with upfitting, it's considerable. It's probably about 30% more on top of the actual purchase of the vehicle. So it's substantial. As far as when we develop our original list, again, we started off with 86 vehicles. We go through that process with the fleet advisory committee to understand what their needs are, what the actual conditions of the vehicles are. We make sure that, hey, look, do you really need this vehicle? Can it last? We ask the question, can it last another year? And if it can, we cross it off the list. So that's how we physically beat this list up to get to that point.
That's all I wanted to hear, right? As we're running into the end. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Mike?
Mayor.
All right. Councilmember Orlando.
Yeah, so just looking at your list here of vehicles you're buying, from what I understand, almost 3 million of this is for police vehicles, 36 vehicles, which a lot of that's the upgrade you're talking about. In your experience, are police vehicles overutilized, much more wear and tear earlier, probably get beat up a lot more often? They're on the road 24 hours a day, basically. So is that why the wear and tear with these are more occurring versus like a utility vehicle?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, short answer is yes. These vehicles go through a tremendous amount of abuse, and we want to provide our public safety folks the right tool for the job.
Okay.
They do go through an extreme environment. I mean, it's pretty
Okay.
obvious that a lot of idle time, obviously a lot of driving, but yes, sir, it's an
And then you're
abusive environment.
expanding, obviously the police department is expanding with
Sure.
more patrols.
Right.
And then the other 7 vehicles are for fire. I'm assuming same reason?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Again, it's a very, very harsh environment.
Okay. All right. And again, some of these vehicles, community services 2, cultural development 1 or 2. So there's a lot of these other vehicles here that are just necessary replenishment. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mayor.
Mayor.
See no. Councilmember.
Yeah, and just to be clear, as we've always talked about on the dais here, my question's never been about public safety. It's always been about the volunteer cars. Then we've got the cars for different departments and things like that that are outside the fleet cars. So I appreciate that's one of the reasons that about 4 years ago I asked for the police and fire to be separate in the budget from the fleet cars, because public safety is its own entity, and everything else that we do, they have their own PIO, they have their own everything, which is great. That's why they're so great at what they do. but then everything else is general, but these always seem to be lumped together. So I could never really dig into that because you didn't want to vote no if I didn't agree with it. Obviously, we need cop cars. So
Well,
appreciate that, Mike.
Councilmember Stewart, PD is also a very great source for trickle down vehicles.
Oh, that's right.
We're able to reutilize those vehicles in many cases where departments won't have to purchase a new vehicle.
You're doing a great job, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Our last question called in is item number 34, also called in by Councilmember Ellis, Stewart, and myself, looking at the temporary accommodation services. Please give us a very brief presentation.
You bet. Don't even have to use the PowerPoint if you don't want. Hi, Mayor. Hi, Council. Thanks for having me. So let's see how fast I can. All right, skipped a slide already. So this item is simply an amendment to an existing contract for one of the two hotels that we use for Operation Open Door, which is our non-congregate shelter program. This amendment would extend the contract for an additional year for an amount not to exceed $600,000 starting October 1st. This contractor did not ask for an increase, so it would be at the same rate as last year. Very brief overview. This program, as you know, started in 2020 when shelter beds reduced. It's very effective, both in outcome and in cost. It is staffed by our city navigators who provide services to people that are staying in our non-congregate program 7 days a week. The ultimate goal is to go to permanent housing, and we've been very successful with that. This last year, 98% of our clients went to permanent housing or another positive exit. We only lost 6 people who either, unfortunately, either passed away before exit or did not, or returned to homelessness. That's amazing out of 301 persons that we served last year. The purpose for contracting is to avoid high fees. So I've learned a lot about hotels in the last couple years. The rates fluctuate by the day, if not the hour, and are also very dependent on things that come to town. For instance, Super Bowls or the golf tournament, the Phoenix Open, things like that. So getting into contract with the hotel gives us a flat rate and the best rate, and makes sure that we always have access to rooms. We're not competing with the general market to provide shelter to our residents. And then, of course, most importantly, it provides a safe place where we can really work with somebody and very quickly get them stabilized and onto permanent housing. And those people are then not on the streets of Chandler. That is very important because when on the streets, people are generally costing our public safety, our public service systems, $35,000 to $40,000 a year. And if we make a quick $6,500 investment in our residents who are experiencing homelessness, within about our average last year was 72 days. Within about 72 days, we can have a positive resolution for them and avoid
Mayor.
spending that money.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. And that was the answer to my biggest question, right? Is why this program has been working for us. So I used to be on sort of I've had people ask me, like, what are we doing buying hotel rooms for? But the end result has been when people get into the rooms, right, when they get the help that they need, then one, they take that pressure off our police department. Two, they actually get the help that they need and the wraparound services they need. So this housing crisis that we're in, we're feeling the everyday effects of that. But what we're doing here in the city of Chandler is why you see very, very few unhoused people throughout our community, because our navigators, this whole program, is helping them get into housing and then helping them find job training or helping them. That's basically what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get a question
Yeah.
on why are we spending this money on hotel rooms?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilman Stewart, you've got it exactly right. This
Okay.
gives us a very quick way to interact with people immediately. We know where they are, they're safe, they're getting good sleep, they can work towards their goals, and they're on to permanent housing.
Thank you.
Great. Keep going.
So let's see. This is actually our last slide. So this is just looking at actual expenditures over the time that we've had this program since 2020. you can see that our first year we spent about 450,000. That was half a year's worth of service. And every year since then, we've spent somewhere around $1 million. This year, year to date, we've spent 145,000 of city funds and 102,000 of federal funds. You can see we're always trying to balance spending federal funds and spending city funds. The biggest thing to note here is that unfortunately, we as a city are not eligible for emergency solutions grant funds, which is the designated federal fund source for shelter. So we are always looking to every grant we can find from state or federal sources, and then we are, of course, contributing some ourselves. So it's very important.
Very good. Councilmember Ellis, did you have any questions?
Yes,
related
Mayor,
to
thank
this?
you so much. I remember the first 2 years of sitting here when I was pushing this program so much that it was being said in the community that we should not take any money from federal government to do this program. And look at where we are right now. It's non-existent. Camping is non-existent into our city right now. I have used this program more than anybody that I know by making a phone call and getting people off the streets because I believe in it and I know it works. You saying that it's very viable, that it's very successful. I think it's more than that. It's saving lives. Not only that, it's saving lives. We have people graduating from this program now with master's degrees and those who are going to college right now and getting their whole bloodline out of poverty. This is why we exist. We don't keep giving fishes. We teach people how to fish and getting them out of homelessness by giving them that little help because people don't realize what it takes sometimes a good night's sleep, what it's going to do for someone just to be able to think, to say yes to services. Just by letting them be off the street for that night, we know that we have their hearts so that we can talk to them and help them to help themselves. I applaud you. I thank your team for continuing doing that. And we're going to continue to invest as long as I'm here. We're going to continue to invest into this because it works and we can see it in our city every single day that I drive around. Thank you.
I thank you for that testimony, and my staff thanks you.
Ryan, you answered my question with just the cost comparisons. There are real costs to homelessness, and by avoiding them, it just has a greater toll on so many other services. So thank you for that slide. Council, any other questions or comments related to this? All right, thank you. That was the last item called in. That concludes our study session. Council, I'll see you on Thursday.